So what happened is like Lombardi is a corporation wherein they launched their first BPM tool called Lombardi Teamworks. Okay, and after that, what happened is like they launched like different versions, like starting with I guess it was there was also 3. I don't remember, but I remember yeah there was 4 versions. Then you have 5, then 5.5, then you have 6. Okay, then 6.0.1. Okay, then 6.1 and 6.2.2. Okay, so the architecture of the Lombardi Teamworks was same in these all the versions. Okay, so they came across like different fixes and they realized what are the drawbacks in this earlier versions. So finally, like they launched a new version called Lombardi Teamworks 7.0. Okay, 7.0. And after 7.0 was launched in the market, Lombardi was, I mean, many of the customers, clients were going for BPM implementation, and during the product evaluation, they are choosing Lombardi because the architecture of 7.0 was totally different, and most of the features that client requires were also introduced in the 7.0. Okay, and also like in 2009, IBM acquired it. Okay, and after that they launched. I mean, they renamed it something like this: Websphere Lombardi Edition. That is nothing but WLE. Okay, and they launched 7.0.1. Okay, Websphere Lombardi Edition 7.0.1. Then later on they launched Websphere Lombardi Edition 7.1, and later on they launched Websphere Lombardi Edition 7.2. Okay. So from here, like IBM acquired it and they renamed the product as Websphere Lombardi Edition 7.0.1, 7.1 and 7.2. Okay. And later after 3 months, like what they did is they finally launched. I mean, they want to remove the name called Lombardi from its suite name. Okay. So they finally launched IBM BPM 7.5. Okay. Now this IBM BPM, the reason why Lombardi, IBM acquired Lombardi is it is for 2 reasons. One is like it was having a good, it was the most of the BPM space in different locations. I mean, different customers were using Lombardi. So most of the market was acquired by Lombardi itself. Okay, for a BPM implementation. Second point was IBM also had their SOA-based tool called Websphere Process Server. You heard about this?
Yeah, I know about that a little bit.
Okay, so this is something like there is a competitor called Oracle Fusion. It is a SOA-based tool. Okay, from Oracle Corporation. Okay, which they follow Apple standards. Like basically these are nothing but SOA-based tools. It has different adapters to communicate with external systems easily. So that is what SOA basic main reason of having SOA is, like you can interact with any external system very easily and communicate and get the data or transfer the data from one point to another point. Okay.
Right.
So the reason why they acquired is, one is they have a good market, and the another point is like they want to give the marketing to their SOA-based tool called Websphere Process Server. So what they did is when they launched IBM BPM 7.5, this is combination of 2 products, that is Process Designer. Process Designer is nothing but your WLE, Lombardi. They renamed totally. In IBM BPM 7.5, you will not even hear the name called Lombardi. Okay, so they renamed it totally as Process Designer plus Integration Designer.
Websphere integration, right?
No, yes, Websphere Process Server. Okay, now your Websphere Process Server, WPS, in short term we will call it as a WPS. Okay, this one. Okay, this is what IBM is doing now. Okay, so whenever people are coming, I mean the new customers are coming or old customer who wants to migrate from 7.2 to 7.5, so they come and then when they are asking IBM, like they want to migrate or upgrade to a new version, so IBM say, yeah, we have IBM BPM 7.5, which has your Lombardi that has been renamed as process designer, and they also tell the explain or demonstrate the capabilities of integration designer to the customers who are already using Lombardi. Okay. Now, if the customer is not having a strong IT team, okay, then they'll say, okay, we'll also try integration designer. Okay. Now, the problem was when the customer who is using Lombardi from long time and they have a very good strong IT team, so they start asking the questions like, we were happily connecting to external systems using Lombardi, so we don't require integration designer. This is again a burden. Again, we need to do POCs. Again, try the integration how it works, and we also don't have an expert of integration designer. We want to just go with process designer licenses. That is nothing but your Lombardi. Okay. So at that time there was a big problem to IBM. So what they did is IBM, they again tried to change the game plan, something like this. So they actually launched IBM BPM 7.5 in 3 flavors. So IBM BPM 7.5 you have in 3 flavors now. One is called IBM BPM 7.5 Express Edition.
Right.
Okay, and the next one you have is your Standard Edition. Okay, and the third one you have is your Advanced Edition.
Right.
Okay. Now, what is the difference between these three is this Express Edition has only your Lombardi, that is nothing but process designer. Okay. This Standard Edition also has only process designer, whereas when you come to Advanced Edition, you have both. Okay. And now, so basically this Express Edition is basically for training and POC purposes. Okay. So basically the customers who only need Lombardi, they go for process designer. Okay, they go for Standard Edition. But nowadays they are also providing the option in Standard Edition also, like you can also separately again go, if you install process designer, I mean you have used Standard Edition and you have installed process designer, they also are providing the installation for integration designer also later if at all you want to install. Okay. But this is what IBM has planned, and this is the game plan they provided, and the customers who want Lombardi, they go for Standard Edition, and the customers who want both, they go for process designer and integration designer. Okay. And here, if you go to Express Edition, it comes with default database called DB2 and application server. This is your Webshpere application server, WAS. Okay. And coming to Standard Edition, you can have your own database like DB2 or Oracle or SQL Server. Okay, you can have any database. And application server, you can have WAS or WebLogic.
Right.
Alright. And this is same again for Advanced Edition. So this is the history of your, I mean, the different versions of Lombardi, and later on, like what are the fixes they had, like what are the problems they found in 7.5, they fixed it and they launched a new version called IBM BPM 7.5.1, and then now the current version is IBM. Like few months back they launched, that is IBM BPM 8.0.1. Okay. And this is again a, you can say they added another thing. So it has both integration designer and also the capability of developing mobile applications. Okay, so you can also develop mobile applications. I mean, like you have different mobile application platforms like Symbian, J2ME, Android, Brew. So all these platforms. So this is again they have provided another interface. I mean, they integrate another product here, that is mobile applications in 8.0.1. Is that clear?
Right, that's clear.
So till here, whatever you see, process designer, so the architecture remains the same from 7.0. There is no difference between the architecture. Okay. From 7.0 to 8.0.1. Okay. So I'm just talking about process designer, not the integration designer. Okay. And as a part of the training, I cover process designer. Okay. So they have later on, like they added integration designer, WPS tool, that is a SWA based tool. Again, they added mobile applications, and we don't know, in the next edition they might also add a BRMS tool. Like you write business rules, right? There are very different tools available in the market.
Right.
They may add that also. So this is the history of your Lombardi project. You have any questions still here?
No, I think I did follow this and I did read what you are saying on the net.
Okay. Okay. So coming to like see, when IBM, when Lombardi started launched this product, right? Basically they launched it in '98, I guess. Okay. So when they launched it, they actually offered the following products offerings, like Lombardi BlueWorks. Earlier it was known as Lombardi Blueprint. It is a SaaS-based tool, that is software as a service, wherein you have an internet connection and you have the credentials to log in. You can just log in and you can connect to this tool and do your stuff. I mean, this is something like very important for non-IT people, business users. Okay,
Right.
like business users, and your BA can sit with the customers and try to design the business processes. So you understand like what are business processes, right?
Yeah, I definitely understand.
Okay. So basically, it's a very graphically very good, colorful tool. Okay, you just go and design the business processes over here and do the documentation. There is nothing like technical work. Like for example, you basically design the workflows, etc. in visual diagrams. Okay, it seems like something complicated. The first time when you log in, when you're first time using Visio, you feel like what to do first. You don't know. But when you use this BlueWorks, you will have everything before your eyes, and you can just drag and drop and play around like a video game. Okay, it's very rich in your graphical user interface. Okay, you can design the workflows here, and you can do the documentation. I'll show you that in the next session, coming session. So basically, you need to get the separate licenses for this. Okay, otherwise you can just register it and use this trial version for 30 days. Okay. Next one is the Lombardi suite that we'll be covering as a part of the training. Next product as an offering that was provided with Lombardi was Teamworks for Office. This is nothing but now there are still some customers who rely on Microsoft Office tools like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Access, etc. So if you design some workflow in Lombardi, okay, and you want to trigger or start that workflow from your Microsoft Office tool, that is nothing but Microsoft Word. We can provide a hyperlink in Microsoft Word. You just click on this Microsoft Word hyperlink provided by the Lombardi developer. You just click it. Automatically the workflow, that is, the process that is residing in Lombardi will get started, or I can say it gets triggered. It's something like when you click on a hyperlink, some web page gets open, right? Similarly, once you click on the hyperlink, so the process which is residing in Lombardi gets started. Okay. And so this is the, so if you install this plugin, take the licenses, then you can use the functionality of this. Next one is Teamwork for SharePoint. This is something like if you want to expose your process related data. Process related data means some business data in the SharePoint. You want to show it to some of your business users or managers, etc., business owners. So that they just don't, because most of the organizations have their own SharePoint. They can directly go and see what is happening. So you applied for a leave. Where is the current status? Status means something like, yeah, it has went to so and so manager and it is pending from last 2 days or something. This type of information you can share it in a SharePoint. Okay. So these were the offerings that were provided by Lombardi when they launched this tool. And as a part of your Lombardi Teamworks suite, okay, these are the components that we will be discussing and also seeing what all happens in this. Okay. So the same points we will discuss in this architecture diagram. Okay. Can you see this slide, Venkat?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is very important. Like architecture is very important because before we start understanding the Lombardi development or administration, the first thing we need to understand the architecture. Okay, how the architecture is and how it is designed and how the things are connected in Lombardi. Okay, different architectures. Now, when you install Lombardi, okay, it requires a database and also an application server. Unless until you have this, you cannot install Lombardi. Okay, Now, for example, you have installed WAS application server. That means there are 3 servers that comes with Lombardi. One is called Process Center server. Okay, one server name is Process Center server. Another server name is Performance Data Warehouse server, and third server is Process server. Okay, Process Center server, Performance Data Warehouse server, and Process server. So these are the 3 servers that comes when you install Lombardi, and these 3 servers will get installed on a WAS application server. Okay, so you have your WAS, and upon that you will have these 3 servers getting installed. Alright, now here what we need to understand is, you can see this box. This box is called a process center. Okay, why it is called as a process center? Because now you got some project and you want to start doing the development. Now you like hire some 5 Lombardi developers, experts who knows about Lombardi. Okay, so this Lombardi developers, what they will do is, in order to do the development, they will use a Eclipse based tool called authoring environment. Okay, so this is a Eclipse based tool. Why I am telling Eclipse based tool is because the Lombardi authoring environment is actually built on Eclipse. Okay, the background is everything Java only, so it is built on Eclipse. Okay, so this is called authoring environment, and in the new versions they call it as a process designer. Okay, so there will be multiple developers using their own authoring environment, and whenever they are creating some artifacts like workflows, user interfaces, integration services, etc., etc., once they save it, okay, it actually comes and saves inside this repository of process center. Okay, that means your process center acts as a centralized repository for all the artifacts developed by Lombardi developer. Okay, so there are 5 developers. It will have its own database. I told you, right? Lombardi cannot, you cannot install Lombardi until unless it has a database and a application. Okay, so it will actually comes and sits inside this repository. Okay, repository is nothing but the internal database of Lombardi. Okay, so whatever you are saving, it comes and sits besides here. So what is the advantage? One developer can see what other developer is doing, and also if you give him the admin rights, he can also edit the code of other developers. I mean, the developers can share the information during the development. Okay, so that is the first point. Second point is, you can have the versioning of your applications. Okay, versioning of your applications. Like for example, you create a project, okay, and you give some version number to that, and because later on you may do some enhancements and you again create a new version, right? So versioning in Lombardi is called snapshots. Okay, we call it as a snapshot. So snapshot is the final copy that actually gets deployed or installed into runtime environments. Like for example, in Java J2E, you create a var file or EAR file, and finally you deploy that into production or UAT or SIT. Similarly, in Lombardi, we have a snapshot. It is a final copy of your development that gets deployed into the runtime environments. Okay?
Right.
So second point is, like, you can create snapshots. I mean, you can do versioning of your applications. Okay? That is the second point. Third point is, you can manage users. I mean, you can give rights to the developers to edit the other codes, admin rights or read-only rights, etc. This is the third point. Fourth point is, you can create toolkits. Toolkits are nothing but the reusable utilities, or you can say common components. Like basically, you know, like there are like 5 developers, and one developer has designed one integration service to send an email, and same feature has to be implemented by other 4 developers. Then there is no need to, they need to create a new one for them. So they can use the one that has been created by the developer. Okay, so you can keep that such type of services in common components or reusable utilities. Okay, so this is what happens. Common component, you create a common component folder and you keep it in that, so that everybody can use that code. Okay, so that is called toolkits in Lombardi. So reusable utilities or common components are called as toolkits in Lombardi. Okay, and also you can create workspaces in Lombardi. That means now one developer is editing, doing some development for release, first release, okay, and you also have the requirements for the second release. What is the requirement for the second release? So the other developer need not wait for the first developer to complete his development. So he can create a workspace, and then the copy of same whatever the code resides in the earlier workspace, he can also get that copy and create a new workspace. So he can start doing the development for the next release. He need not wait for the developer 1 to complete his development for the release 1, then he can go and start the development. There is no need. So he can separately do the development, take the copy of that in a separate workspace and start doing the development. So these are all the features of your process center. Okay, these are all the features of your process center. And in order to manage, handle all these features, we have a console or a user interface called process center console. Okay, whatever features we discussed just now, like creating projects, okay, creating snapshots, creating toolkits, creating workspaces, assigning users admin rights or only rights. So all these things you can handle to process center console. Or in direct words, you can say, in order to manage your process center server, we have process center console. Okay, some user interface.
Right.
All right. Now, when you see this box, so this box is something like, this is your process center. Okay, and in development environment, I told you, like when you install Lombardi comes with 3 servers: process center server, performance data warehouse server, and process server. And in development box, if you just start your process center server and performance data warehouse server, then you can happily do your development. There is no need to start process server. So that is the reason I did not draw the box of process server here. So you will have these 3 servers, okay, in every machine, but you just start your process center server and performance data warehouse server. That's enough to do the development. Okay. Now process center server will manage your process applications or workflows during development environment. Okay. What is performance data warehouse server? So like for example, when we were in schooling, we used to go to school and our parents used to track our performance by seeing the progress report, right? So similarly, when once your process application is in production and a business owner wants to track the performance, performance in the sense it's not like the performance of, the speed of a process application, but they need to track the performance of their business. In process applications or in a workflow diagrams, you will have your business data flowing from one place to another place, right? So they want to generate the report from the data and see, okay, the performance of their application, the business. Okay, they generate the reports. The data that needs to be generated on a report, it actually comes and stores in a performance data warehouse. So basically, performance data warehouse servers will manage the reporting data so that they can generate the reports. Okay.
Right.
And so this is only a development box. Now below you see, right, these are 3 runtime environments. Runtime environment means you use these environments for testing, or business users will use this application. There is no editing or development done in runtime environment. Either you test the code or use the application. That's all. Okay.
A quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
This process server you are talking about, the runtime environments, that belongs to the architecture that is Teamworks 7. That is still it's not IBM process server, right? It is Lombardi one.
Yeah, this is Lombardi part. See, the Webshpere process server is different and this is different.
Right. Just I want to clarify that. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So when you talk about runtime environment, you can see in UAT or SIT or prod, you see only 2 2 server instances running: process server and performance data warehouse server. Okay.
Okay.
And this are not same. So this performance data warehouse belongs to development box. This performance data warehouse belongs to runtime box. Okay.
Right.
So here in runtime environment, your process application is managed by process server. Okay. And the reporting data is managed by performance data warehouse server in runtime environments, I'm telling. Okay. And here there is no process center because you are not going to edit the code or do any development.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You are going to just test the application or use the application. That's all. So here you will not see the process center server box in runtime environment. Okay. So in runtime environment, process server will manage your process application. That is nothing but your workflows, and performance data warehouse will handle the reporting data in runtime environment. Okay, and this is the same in other runtime environments. Okay, we will have only these 2 instances running, not the process center. Clear? Hello, Venkat.
Yeah, I can hear it. No problem.
Okay, and another feature of process center is you can directly install your snapshot. So snapshot is nothing but your final copy of your project. So you can directly install from process center to different runtime environments. Okay, so the Lombardi administrator can just click on one button, install, it goes and install onto the runtime environments. Only when these runtime environments are connected to process center, then only you can install. If they are not connected, then you cannot install. You need to install it manually. Okay, so if they are connected, then you can directly install. It's called online deployment. If they are not connected, you need to manually deploy. That is called offline deployment. Okay, and in order to manage your process server, we have process admin console. Okay, so in process admin console, you have an option to like activate the workflows. Okay, yeah, memory management. Okay, user management, creating users, connecting to LDAP, group management. Okay, security, seeing the log files, monitoring your application in production and during the testing. Okay, so these all things are there in process admin console. Okay. And coming to performance admin console, so in order to manage your performance data warehouse, we have performance admin console. So basically performance admin console also will show if there are some any errors when you are trying to track the data and store it in a database. Okay, it will show you how many tables have created when you are tracking the data. So all this information is there in your performance admin console. Okay, and this process, your process server and your performance data warehouse server and or your process center server will have their own table spaces created. I mean, they will have their own tables created in database. When you install Lombardi, it will create some set of tables for each server. Got it?
Good.
So basically, when you actually create any user or create any application, the information is actually stored in a database. Okay.
Okay.
And there is a last component called process portal. Process portal is something for the business users, the end users, wherein they can go and work on their task. Like for example, because for example, my manager has assigned some task to me, so we basically send out an email. So I go and click, open my mailbox, I click on inbox and see the mail, what are the details he has sent. Similarly, the end users, if they want to work on their task, for example, some customer has applied for a loan. Okay, so there will be a loan processing request created in the inbox of the particular end user. So the end user will log in with his credentials in his process portal and he will see the task assigned to him and he will click on a green button here, something called run button, to process the loan request. Okay, so basically it will provide an environment where the end users can go and work on their task. Okay, and also it has a out-of-box reporting feature called scoreboard. Scoreboard is something like when you go to a ground, like cricket ground, stadium, to see the cricket match, you will have a scoreboard over there which gives you the details about the match summary, who the current run rate, the overs, who is currently doing the batting, what is the run rate, what is the score, who is bowling. Okay, all these details is displayed on the scoreboard. So in this process portal, you have a scoreboard related to your own performance, like how many tasks have you completed, how many are overdue, how many are at risk. So it will actually show in reporting format, like using a bar chart or a pie chart. Okay, and second thing, you can also see the team performance, who is working on the task on a timely basis, who is not working on time. Okay, if it is anything overdue, you can question the subordinate employee working under you, why did you not complete this task? If at all he is really held up with many tasks in his inbox, so you can also reassign it to some other user. Okay, so so there are different options available in scoreboard. So this is scoreboard is the out-of-box reporting feature of Lombardi. Do you have any questions here?
No, I'm good at this time.
So the next slide is just an explanation of each and every point what we discussed, like what is process center. So it's a centralized repository for all the project assets you create in authoring environment. Okay, and when multiple authoring environment clients connect to process center, users can share the items, like whatever they have done the development, they can share it and also make the changes if they have the admin rights. So process center will have process applications. Process application is nothing but the root folder of your project. Some name you need to give it, right? For example, in Java, when you start doing the development, you give some folder name, like project name. So in Lombardi, we call that as a root folder as process application. Okay. So inside that you go and do the development. We can create workspaces, we can have snapshots for versioning, you can create usable utilities that are nothing but toolkits, and also you can plan for deployment or the installation of your snapshot from development environment to runtime environment.
Right.
Okay. Next is the authoring environment. So the authoring environment is it plays as a client role, like wherein you design different artifacts like processes, services, user interfaces, rules, services, etc. And this authoring environment has three perspectives. One is designer perspective for doing the development, inspector perspective for testing the application, optimizer perspective for analyzing your business process. So when you log in as a developer, you only see designer perspective and inspector perspective. And optimizer perspective is basically for the process analyst to analyze the business process, to see if there are any bottlenecks in a business process. Okay, he will not see these two perspectives, he will only see one perspective. Process server and performance data warehouse server form the runtime environment. Okay, so process server will manage your process applications during the runtime environment. That is what it says. Performance data warehouse server, earlier called as performance server. Okay, it is used for performance tracking. Okay, for monitoring or report generation. And these both servers works with a database, and they will have a table space created once you install Lombardi. So that is what it says in the last point. Okay.
Okay.
And these are the consoles what we said. Process center console, you
Right,
have all
right.
this Teamworks repository, process application.
Yeah, I got all those.
Okay. Admin console will have these all options that will be looking one after the other once we connect to each and every console. And these are for performance admin console. So these are the options you have when you open this console page. You have all these options. Okay. And I told you about the process portal. It is something like inbox look and feel.
Right.
Once
Right.
the end user logs in, he can work on his task. Okay, and
Right.
it also has scoreboard view, alert management, controlling in-flight processors. In-flight processor means, I mean, the tasks which are whose due date is completed, you can also handle that. Okay,
Right.
you can also see the history of your process instances. Instances is nothing but once you start any process or a workflow in Lombardi, it creates an instance of that, so that the Lombardi system has to identify which process is currently running or which workflow is currently running, etc. Okay. Do you have any questions? I'm good to take. Like I'm done with the Lombardi architecture presentation.
See, like what I am looking is this fine. I totally agree with you that whatever you have said is excellent, and I know that development is also very much required in this one. But what was my requirement is like I should be able to install your maybe looking at what is it called BPM 7.5, where you have process designer and process server. Right, and I should be able to manage, design and manage that part. Actually, that is what I am looking for. Is there anything that you can say that covers here in this one?
Basically, see, you install the software. After that, what exactly you want to do? Like you will be basically using the tool, right?
Right, right. Because you are talking more on Lombardi now. On this one, is that something you talk about process server also? Of course, Lombardi has its own process server, but BPM is using, BPM 7.5 is using IBM process server or Lombardi process server?
See, IBM BPM 7.5, I told you, it comes with two different products. It's a combination of two products called Process Designer, that is Lombardi, and Integration Designer, that is WPS. Okay.
Right.
Now, why do we have WPS here is, the main reason of having WPS is for marketing strategy, okay, and what IBM says, like, you can also connect to external systems using Integration Designer.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so you can definitely connect, because see, in Lombardi we call connectors, and in Integration Designer, WPS, we call it as adapters. Okay,
Right.
so the
Right.
number of connectors or adapters are more in Integration Designer rather than in Process Designer. Okay, so we see from 98 we are able to connect to external systems happily using Lombardi.
No, I got it. See, there is, of course, I also looked at the architecture a little bit on this IBM site, right, where they said that for a BPM 7.5, right, I looked at the architecture BPM 7.5, where they say that you have a process center, right, and which involves your process designer and, as you said, integration designer from IBM old this one. And they have a second as a process server. Maybe that is the runtime what you are talking, right? Possibly.
The process server is related to Lombardi part.
Okay. Okay. So where does this IBM process server come? If they want to use it, they use it. Otherwise, no. That's what the concept.
So that is the reason. That is the reason they actually divided into 3 flavors. Customers were like telling only we want process designer. We don't want the integration designer. So now, for example, I tell you now. We are using process designer and we had a requirement to connect to some external system, and unfortunately there is no connector available in Lombardi to connect to some documentum system, etc. Okay.
Right.
So we usually what happens is we raise a ticket with IBM, we raise a service request, and they create the connector in Java and they give it to us. Usually it happens. Now, if you have integration designer, you already have all the connectors, like almost all the adapters or connectors are available in integration designer. So what you can do, you can call this integration designer connector from Lombardi. So you can have a connection from Lombardi to integration designer. So this integration designer will try to get the data and send it to your Lombardi. Okay, it will
so this Lombardi development is mostly on the based development, or is it a Java based?
See, your process designer is totally your Java and XML based, and integration designer is your JPL based.
Okay.
Okay, and also it will Lombardi uses BPM and notations, business process modeling notations. Okay.
Right.
So this is totally SOA based tools are all BPL based. So they have the universal language, that is BPL. So if you take any SOA based tool, it is developed or it generates BPL code at the back end.
Yeah, I was looking for that administration side, so that is the reason I came. And he said, okay, we can talk to you and see what administration part you will cover in this development. I mean, this training class. So
see, administration. See, why we actually had. See, earlier we used to give only development part. Okay. But sometimes it happens, the people who are doing the development in a project, they also are allowed or pushed to do the Lombardi administration, because the person who is an expert on WebLogic or WAS application server cannot, if he don't know Lombardi architecture, then he cannot do the administration of Lombardi servers. Okay, that is very difficult for him, because it happens like most of the developers are pushed into administration part of Lombardi, and or help the administrators who are managing the Lombardi servers.
Maybe. So, I will go to a meeting, right? Is there any way I can share my screen to you?
1 second. Yeah. I make you the presenter, you can share your screen.
Show my screen. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay. See, I was going through this, of course. I don't know much about Lombardi, but I have played a little bit on process server, like installing, configuring older version, of course, not the new one, but older version. So I was looking at this screen. Of course, whatever you talk now, I can correlate that. This one is, I think, process center, the top one, right?
Yeah, right.
This one is process center. This is process server. So this can be Lombardi or it can be IBM, both of them, right?
No, whatever process server you are pointing, it's a process server of Lombardi. I mean Lombardi. Process designer. The left hand side you have process designer, right?
This is yes. Yeah. And this is integration designer.
Integration designer. Yeah. See, why integration designer is kept here is what See, I told you, whatever artifacts you develop in Lombardi, they all comes and sits into process center. Okay.
Right, I agree.
So
Either
in
you
integrate, so
design
you connect to integration designer uh, from your process center only. So that is the reason that integration designer box is deciding near to process center.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
go ahead.
Now in this course, what software we are using for installing and configuring? Of course, you said 7.5 Lombardi or 7.5 or lower than that.
See, software installation, like if you have a software, you can install it. Okay, we don't provide any software installations, etc. here. Okay.
Okay.
I can help you out like during the installation if you have the software.
Okay.
See, software you can get. See, earlier like when it was the Lombardi product, we have a option to download software free and do it. Now after IBM has acquired, like if you have passport advantage credentials, you can download any version for hands-on. Okay, for hands-on. I mean, you can download the Express edition. They provide the Express edition from online, standalone, something like that.
Right.
So you're asking something.
Yeah, I'm just thinking what to ask now. That's what
No, here if you see in this diagram, okay, you have integration designer. The what all comes in integration designer is if you come at see this is the PPT what you are showing, it is for 7.5 advanced edition. Advanced edition will have process designer and integration designer. I told you. Okay.
Right.
So here if you see below, if you come below the BPL, ESB. Okay, you can see BPL, ESB and SCA. These three are part of your integration designer.
Right.
Okay. BPM and rules and monitoring, these are part of process design.
Right, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Because this what do you call it? So at least can we install on your systems, not on my systems, but is that something you guys can provide that one?
We can install on your machine, right? Wherein you can directly open and play around anytime.
I mean, I don't have a software.
No, I don't have a software.
That's what I said. So because if I take an Express edition, that may not solve my problems. You know, like I have VMs. I have few VMs images I can create on my laptop. Or if you can at least we can do on your sandbox. That is also fine.
No, sandbox is an IBM machine. You cannot do that. Okay.
Okay.
There already the environment is ready wherein you can go and play around. Latest version of 8.0.1, wherein you also have integration designer over there.
Right. Yeah, I have used that one. Not for this. Different purpose. Yeah, all right. It's good. Let me think over it and talk to what is his name, Balaji, right? Balaji.
Okay. Yeah, you can talk to him and he will probably update you about this.
Yeah, I will see what best we can. Yeah. Thank you.